Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this wet and windy Thursday night in late November. It's our pleasure to have you with us this evening for our North-South Travel virtual travel dreaming series. And this particular event is very special because we are promoting a special, unique itinerary that our very own Anne Bird is hosting. Tonight I have Jane Patrick, one of our adventure travel specialists, with us, as well as Anne and Shauna. But seeing as it is Anne's group, I'm going to hand over the mic for her to do a little introduction, and we hope you all enjoy this. And please, at any time, feel free to put any questions into the chat box, and at the end we'll do a quick Q&A. Thanks, Anne. Over to you.
Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anne Bird. I'm an adventure travel specialist at North-South Travel. I've been in the business for over 25 years. I'm not going to say how many. And enjoy traveling to exotic destinations. Some of our book clients are on this webinar this evening as well, so welcome as well. I'm really excited to be hosting this special itinerary of AMA Waterways to Vietnam and Cambodia next November. It's been a while since I visited this beautiful part of the world, and I thought it was time to go back and visit some of the places again, plus explore some of the new ones. This really is one of my favorite regions of the world because of its amazing food, culture, history, scenery, and friendly people. I chose this particular itinerary for its variety of activities and includes all the major sites you want to see. Places like Ho Chi Minh, Angkor Wat, Hanoi, and especially Ha Long Bay, which to me is one of the most stunning landscapes in the world. I especially enjoy local markets with the hustle and bustle of activity. And I'm really looking forward to cruising down the Mekong River on our small luxury river vessel, the Amadara, where we can relax after a day of sightseeing. I hope you can join us all will be really a most memorable trip. And now I'll put over to Shauna, who's going to tell us all about the itinerary.
Thank you so much, Anne. And hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's my great pleasure to get to talk about this incredible itinerary in Vietnam and Cambodia with AMA Waterways. And for those of you who maybe have never heard of AMA Waterways, we've been in business for 18 years now. We are a family-owned and operated company. We were one of the first to actually start the Mekong on the river and sell it in North America. Our three families, Rudy Schreiner, Christine Karst, Gary Murphy, they started this company with lots of heart and soul. And today we have 23 ships around the world sailing mostly in Europe, but with our beautiful Amadara on the Mekong. We're also in Africa, and starting in September 2021, we'll be returning to Egypt. So we're excited about that as well. As I say, this itinerary to me is just one of the most soul-changing journeys I ever took. And about 6 years ago, I went on this trip, fell in love with the two countries. And, you know, as Anne was saying, the history, the culture, these beautiful people who are so kind of heart. And just this past December, so almost a year ago, I was able to return again for the second time. And I'm glad I did, because I enjoyed it even more than I did the first time I went. It just gets better and better every year that we are there. So this particular itinerary, of course, the date will be November 20th, that will be starting in Ho Chi Minh City. And this will be an upstream cruise heading up towards Hanoi. And then, as Anne mentioned, we'll be going over to Ha Long Bay, and then coming back into Hanoi, where you'll either fly on to Bangkok, or maybe you'll go visit somewhere else in Asia, or perhaps you'll just be heading home. So you have 3 nights in Hanoi, 1 night in Ha Long Bay. You'll be visiting Siem Reap, of course, for the temples, having that wonderful journey on the river for 7 nights. And then you'll be starting your journey actually in Ho Chi Minh City and spending 2 nights there. As I mentioned, you can do Bangkok. You could actually do it before the cruise or after the cruise. That's an optional 3-night tour. Or you can, you know, plan something else too. Of course, all the gals at North-South Travel will be able to help you out with that. But this is a 15-night journey with your cruise, all your beautiful hotels, the Sofitel hotels that we use. So 6 nights at hotels, your overnight on our beautiful Paradise Elegance in Halong Bay, your airfare between Siem Reap and Hanoi, and all your port charges, your taxes, your gratuities while you're on the ship, and so much more. So we'll talk a little bit about the actual dates and the pricing at the end of the presentation, but really tonight I just wanted to focus on what you could expect to see. I know some of you on the call are already booked, which is fantastic, and some of you might have come to my event I did in the office. Oh, that was some time ago now. But now, you know, we want to just come back and think about this beautiful place and what you can come to expect. So as I said, we start in Ho Chi Minh City. You'd be arriving into this beautiful city, which was the former Saigon. It was only in 1975 that they renamed it Ho Chi Minh, and it is home to just over 9 million people today. I was surprised when I came back at how much more development there was in the city, but it's just one of these cities that's so fabulous to walk about. The Sofitel's very well centrally located right downtown. Lots of lovely parks all around, great shopping. You also have the big market. So much to see. We're staying at the beautiful Sofitel Hotel. You'll have wonderful breakfast included, enough food to last you through the whole day. And then you're on your own in the evening to go explore and go out and try some of these incredible restaurants. And the wonderful thing about Southeast Asia is that everything is very inexpensive. So going out to a lovely restaurant, going out for drinks, it's it's very inexpensive. So your money goes a long way. While we're actually here in Ho Chi Minh, I just wanted to put this picture in to give you a sense of the nightlife here, just how it looks when it's all lit up with all the incredible buildings. But while we're here in the city, we'll be doing a city tour. A lot of these pictures are mine, so I wanted to share them with you just to show you what's happening in Ho Chi Minh. This is along the river. Now, this is not really the Mekong, but this river connects out to the ocean. But you can see all the development going on in this area. And no, that is not your river ship there in that picture. But, you know, you can come into these great hotels, walk up, you know, go into these lovely bars that are overlooking the city and just sit and have a drink and take it all in. It was a bit of a cloudy that day, but it's still very, very nice and warm. And as I say, I was very early December, so right about the same time that you would be going on this trip. The nice thing about this time of year for traveling into Southeast Asia is that it's still really nice and warm. You're kind of coming out of that rainy season. It's much drier. The humidity is dropping down, but still lovely, lovely temperatures. And as we move, you know, throughout Vietnam, coming into Cambodia, it's very warm. And then you come up into Hanoi and it starts to cool off a little bit. It's a little cooler up in the northern region than it is, of course, down here in the south. We'll be visiting the presidential palace, of course. Ho Chi Minh, who was the president from 1945 to 1969, he lived in this palace. And you'll see his private helicopter and his quarters and everything in here. So we'll tour through there. We'll have a chance to go over and see the Notre Dame Cathedral. Yes, they have their very own. And you can see the parks in the background here. I really spent a lot of time just walking around the city. It was very safe, comfortable to walk around. You know, a guy would stop you on the street and say, would you like a coconut water? And you'd cut a coconut and put a straw on it. You'd have this beautiful fresh coconut water. And just exploring, especially the lovely parks, and spending time just, you know, looking at the architecture and everything. We go over to the post office, and you might be thinking, why are we going to the post office? But today it's more like a tourist center, really. You still have a post office there, but it's beautiful inside, and they have lovely things you can buy there. When, of course, it was almost Christmas, so they had lovely ornaments, and they have wonderful pictures and postcards and such. So trinkets, touristy things, but really nice quality. So that's a great spot to do some shopping. And then you will have time to come over into the Benton market. And this was one of my favorite places to go. We were there every day, just the sights, the sounds, the smells, everything. You can find everything you want. I mean, if you're looking for, Prada and Louis Vuitton, that's there as well. Not in the market, of course, the real ones are out on the street, but just a really fun experience to come over to the market. They have coffee and food and everything from flip-flops to handbags to everything. So of course it gets pretty busy in there, so you just need to be careful. But the wonderful thing is when you arrive in Ho Chi Minh City, our cruise manager, our AMA Waterways cruise manager, and of course Anne will be with you there too, but our cruise manager is there. And so they'll be at the hotel, they'll be at breakfast every morning, and they'll be able to share with you. They'll be doing touring with you. This is all included, and they'll let you know where you should and should not go. They'll be giving you all sorts of tips. So not to worry about that. Now, you can see everybody, lots of motorbikes in this city. It's the easiest way for people to get around. Sometimes you'll see people on bikes as well. There'll be a whole family, a whole host of people on one bike. You'll see the floral shop go by with 6 floral arrangements on the bike. And so the streets are quite busy, but you'll see that more than you would see cars. The picture on the right here was actually, I put it in just to show you because we had so much fun that night. It was a big national world soccer game, and they won. Vietnam won. So the streets went crazy. The people were celebrating, and we were out amongst all of them just cheering them on, and it was so much fun. So it really is a great city. And of course, everything's decorated for Christmas. So hopefully by the time you get there, they'll already be starting to put out the Christmas decorations. You might be a little too early, but it was just so amazing to see, very colorful and taking in all the sights. One of the other tours we will offer while you're at the Sofitel in Ho Chi Minh is heading out to the Cu Chi tunnels. Now, you may not want to go, but I would recommend you go. It's quite interesting to go out there. And these are the tunnels that the Vietnamese built during the Vietnam War. And I put this picture in just to show you how they built them. And, they had their kitchen, they had their sleeping areas, they had everything down below ground. And you can actually crawl through some of these tunnels. I'm claustrophobic, so it was not going to happen. But beautiful drive out there, and you can walk around and hear the stories about that. And if you're adventurous enough, you can certainly go into the tunnel. So if we come back to the map here for a second, you can see Ho Chi Minh there, really close to the ocean because it's at the very bottom of Vietnam. And we're going to be getting on the ship just outside of Ho Chi Minh City. So we have to drive out towards Mai To, which is where we get on the ship itself. And it takes about anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours. It really just depends on the traffic for that day. It took us about an hour, and nice big air-conditioned coaches. You've got lots of room to be, socially distancing and such. Obviously, you'll have your bubble of people you're traveling with, but very nice and comfortable, and they'll have bottled water for you and such. And then we'll get to arrive at our beautiful Amadara and come on board the ship. So this ship is 124 guests if we're completely full. And we have beautiful staterooms on board here. You can see, if you look at my little cursor here, this area here is the sun deck. There's a bar in behind here. There's a lovely pool area. Down here is your lounge, and then down here is your dining room. These 3 decks right here are all your staterooms. And then at the aft end of the ship is where our spa and our chef's table alternative dining venue is. Up here, you can actually walk out here in front, and also here, the captain's up here in this little window here. That's the bridge. And so every morning we'd get our coffees and we'd come up and we'd sit out here, and he'd come out and say hello. He doesn't speak English, so we didn't have much conversation, but we would just sit there and watch, the sun. Sometimes if it was early enough, the sun was coming up, and just watch sailing down the river. It's just so relaxing and so interesting as well. So our crew are there to greet you. These folks just do an amazing job. They're so friendly. Anything you need and want, they're so happy to help you out and make you feel welcome on board the ship. And they'll be with us for the whole 7 nights as we journey along the Mekong. As well, we'll have 3 tour guides with us. These folks are local as well, and they'll actually be traveling the entire 7 nights with us. They'll be your tour guides the whole way through the journey. So usually, like in Europe and such, if you've done other kind of river cruising, you have different tour guides every day. Whereas on this particular trip, you'll have the same guides. And it's very nice because you really get to know them. You can move amongst the guides if you want, but most people just end up staying with the first guide they go with. They get to know them, they talk about their families, they share stories. So by the end of the trip, you know these people really well, and they're just sharing all the history with you and going on all the shore excursions with you from beginning to end. This is our reception area here. One of the things about the ship is you can see the stairwells there. There are 3 decks, but we don't have an elevator. So that's something I just need to let you know. There is no elevator. The stairs are nice and wide, and there's not a lot of them, but there is 3 decks there. So the dining room is just off of there, and the lounge as well. And then up the top staircase there is where the sun deck is situated that I was showing you earlier. There is a little boutique right off the reception area. And I always say to people, go in there and look around, see what you see. And then, you can see what prices are like ashore. If you see here again, if you follow my little cursor, see these little baskets? They are the cutest things ever. And they use them as bread baskets on the tables in the dining room. And they're like a little Vietnamese boat with a guy paddling. And I didn't buy one the first time. So this time around, we all bought them and brought them home. And I'm so glad I did. But there's lots of other things there too. Now you do have bathrobes and slippers in your stateroom. You have a fridge in your room. You will also have bottled water available to you all the time. So you can take them ashore with you or, on board, and all the comforts, everything you need in your stateroom, you'll, like shampoo, conditioner, moisturizer, that's all available, hair dryers. So everything will be there for you. So we do have 3 different types of accommodation. There are 2 big suites up on the top deck, and they're 502 square feet. So you have a sit-out balcony, a French balcony, you have sort of a lounge living area, your bed, you've got a big, huge bathroom with a soaker tub. Then we have junior suites, a little bit smaller, and you can see the double balconies there. And then we have our twin balcony staterooms. And here again, you can see there's a step out balcony with 2 tables and a chair, and then you've got a French balcony. But in all honesty, because it's quite warm and it can be quite humid, if you open the doors to go out, your air conditioning will turn off. So make sure you leave the doors closed if you do go out, just so your air conditioning will continue to run. Sitting out there is really lovely in the morning, but at night I wouldn't go out there because when the lights all come down, the bugs will come out on the river, and there's not a lot of them, and you don't really notice it, but you just don't want to have them, of course, in your room. One of the things we recommend you bring is a bug spray with DEET in it. You can just buy the cloths. You don't have to buy a spray. And I mean, I bring it every time, but I've never used it actually, but it's always good to have just in case you do need it. And so that's just something I always tell people. But the rooms are really nice and comfortable. Your bathroom has a lovely walk-in shower. These staterooms don't have a bathtub. You'd have to go into a suite to have a bathtub. And we don't have Wi-Fi in the staterooms. You have to be in the lounge or dining room area to get Wi-Fi. And of course, it's complimentary. And you have to remember, when we are actually out on the river for the 7 nights, we are sort of in some pretty out there places where we're far away. And so Wi-Fi is pretty good, but sometimes it gets, it goes in and out a little bit, but you'll have it every day for sure. And it's much better now than it used to be. So now what's included on your cruise in terms of beverages and such? While you're with us on the ship, your house spirits, vodkas, gins, what have you, they're included all day long. All your sodas, the local beer, which is really good. We have imported wines for lunch and dinner. Now, the reason I say imported or international wines is because a lot of companies serve local wine, which is the Vietnamese wine, which is horrible. You do not want to drink that. So we have lovely wines from, all over France and Chile and Argentina or South America, wherever, right? So lots of lovely wine and unlimited. You can have as much as you want at lunch and dinner. We have rosés. And then every day we have a sip and sail cocktail party too. So that goes on for an hour before dinner. And there's the drink of the day. There's, martinis and wine and what have you. So you can certainly, have more drinks then too. So that's what's included in terms of your beverages. When it comes to your dining, of course, everything's included, all your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner. We do North American style cuisine, but we also have a lot of the Asian specialties, the noodles, the soups. Every day we were eating these noodles and having the soup, sometimes for breakfast, because it's just so good, and the flavors, and then all their beautiful exotic fruits. Now, in the past, we've always had full menu service and some buffet as well. But as we move forward and we return, we will no longer have buffets. So too bad, everything has to be served to you now. So that's not so bad, but you'll still have all those wonderful choices. And as I mentioned, we get to try all these beautiful fruits from this area, fruits we don't typically maybe even see here. And if we do, they're very, very expensive. So they'll show you, what these fruits are, what we get to taste them. Some of them smell horrendous, but they taste wonderful, and others smell great and they don't taste very good. So it's great to see all the different types of fruits and such. That's the bar up on the sun deck area. Now we have the chef's table as well. This is a great alternative dining venue. It's at the aft end of the ship, as I mentioned, so you can see those big windows all along. And this is a 5-course tasting menu, so something completely different than the dining room, and different wines as well. And the chefs are right behind you. There's a big glass window there, and they're cooking and preparing everything. And so your group on this particular trip will all have a night together in the chef's table. So that's, a real treat as well. So remember, I talked about the stairwell that comes up to the sun deck. Well, here you are up top now. We've got this swimming pool here. It's kind of more of an above ground pool, but it's just big enough to get in and have a dip. And, it's lovely. We're sailing along the river, and it's a warm day, and you can have a little dip in the pool and come out and lie on one of the sun loungers, or come up here into the lounge and sit and read a book, find your spot. There's lots of room. You can see our lovely bartender at the end there. She was looking after us for the whole cruise. She knew exactly what we always wanted. We never even had to ask. And so you're very, very well looked after. You can see some more of the loungers down here, and there's life along the river. Sometimes we're really just out in the middle of nowhere with beautiful just foliage and mountains, and you see little smoke in the background. And other times we're going along, past towns. And then, of course, we come into Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia. So we'll be, stopping there as well. The sunsets and the sunrises here are just incredible. And this is my gang here. We were always out taking pictures. That's the hotel manager there. He is a photographer, so he was giving us tips and such. But, at happy hour, sip and sail, we'd get a drink and come sit up here, and it was just so lovely. And there's the sun going down there along the river. So in the morning, if you're up bright and early, we have our wellness host on board, and he or she is hosting yoga every morning, sometimes Tai Chi or stretching or what have you, but lots of different classes through the day. They go on the walking tours with us as well. And if you're needing something stretched out, got a bad hip or something, you can talk to them and they'll help you work through that. But it's just a really lovely way to start your day, get a coffee, come up here, stretch out, and then we're off and touring. We do have a spa on board. They do massage and pedicure, manicure, and it's very inexpensive. So we will have an afternoon where we're going to cross the border and come out of Vietnam and enter Cambodia. And I'll show you that back on the map. But so on that day, that's a great time to go and have massages because we're on the ship. We have to stay on board while we cross the border, and border control comes on, and we take care of it all. You don't have to worry. You just get to enjoy yourself. And they also do these incredible foot massages. I had 3 of them in 1 week. So yeah, you can treat yourself and enjoy that. So the lounge there, if you remember, it's from the sun deck and the lounge and then the dining room below that. This is where in the morning people come in, they get their cappuccinos or their latte or their tea. And we usually have fresh croissants and fruit and everything out at the front of the lounge. In the evening, we have entertainment in here. We do lectures sometimes in the day and talks in here. Some people are playing, crib or what have you. So it's really just our meeting place. And again, because we came at Christmas, we had a big giant Christmas tree in the middle of the lounge there as well. Now, this is where we'll have our sip and sail party every day as well. You don't have to stay in here. You can take your drink and go to your stateroom. You can go up onto the sun deck or just sit in the lounge. But everybody usually comes together here and talks about their day. Lots of people sharing pictures and just getting to know one another. Here you can see they're doing another cooking demonstration. And so we're just sitting in there watching that. Entertainment coming on. Of course, these folks aren't with us on the ship. They come on board. And then we do have a talent night with the crew, which is really the funnest part. They just love to entertain the guests. And so that goes on there as well. Now, while we're sailing along the river, we're mostly anchoring in the middle of the river. There's only, not every time are we actually coming to shore. But as you can see here, we're just pulling up along the riverbank and they, secure the ship. They'll put down a walkway. The crew is all there to help you. So if you're a little, unsturdy, they can certainly help you off the ship. It's really important to have really good walking shoes, comfy shoes. And, you really should be fairly mobile to come on this journey because you are going to be doing this sort of thing. And of course, a lot of sometimes uneven footing with stone and, the dirt roads and such, but they're always there to help as well. So you can see the ship just coming in here, and now we're heading off to go into one of the villages. There's the ship at times when we have to actually anchor out, and then we have our big tender boats coming to take us. They're with us all the time, both our tender boats, and then they'll take us to go to town, or if we're in a rural village area or what have you, they'll take us there from the ship. Now, the first place we'll be coming is Kai Bay, and this will be our first stop as we come in here into this sort of local village area. This woman is teaching us how to do rice papers. Wraps, so she pours the liquid over, the rice liquid over, and it steams it, and then you pull it up like a giant crepe, so to speak. I have a great video of my daughter doing this. She was just like a master at it, and this woman was so impressed. But, it's things like that. And we go and do the candy making where they're making all these sweets and treats and puffed rice and everything, and they have all sorts of great, artwork and lots of great little gifties. And of course, you'll be there not long before Christmas. So it's a great time to do some shopping. Your tour guides will be with you, and it's a lot of fun to walk through here. They're going to show you all about the snake wine, and you can see the big snake in the bottle there. Do not drink this. If they ask you to taste it, don't taste it. Some people do, and I'm like, yeah, no, I wouldn't be doing that. So anyhow, it's still really interesting to see. And here's our tour guide. He was with us the whole time, of course. And he's talking about some of the fruit, and we're just, going along. And when they walk, they always have the lollipop. I mean, you're not going to get lost. We're the only people there, but nice small groups as well. And then we come into Sadak. This is another small area here. If any of you have ever read the book The Lover, or you may have seen the movie, it's about a woman named Marguerite Duras. She was a French woman who was going to a boarding school in Ho Chi Minh City. At the time it was Saigon, because it was 1929 and she was only 15 years old. And she came into Sadak and she fell in love with a Vietnamese Chinese gentleman who was quite wealthy. He was the son of a very wealthy family, and they fell in love. And so they had this love story going on. So we go to the home of this gentleman's family. And I think we have copies of the movie on board the ship. It's a bit risque, but it's an interesting story. So, and then we also go into the local market, and then here you can see these fruits and all the vegetables and everything, very, very colorful, and you can walk all through here. Now, we're going to come to Tan Chau. This is another area. This is just my daughter here, but I wanted to show you that we'll be doing lots of different types of transportation. So obviously when we're going any kind of distance, we'll have a big, beautiful air-conditioned coach. But along the way, we're trying all different kinds of transportation. So when we come off the boat here to walk through Tan Chau, we'll start off with a trishaw ride. So everybody has their own. You can see us all. This is all my group coming along here. So we're coming down the road. It's like a parade. All the locals come out and wave. And so, we've got crew members with us. They're looking after us, and the tour guides. And we're heading off to see some of the silk and walk through some of the villages, meet some of the people. This is a local little village here, and you get to meet the kids. And we go into a family's home and talk to them, and they tell us about their life and how they live and what they do for work. And it's a lovely time. This lady's working in, like a rattan shop here in straw, and they're making all sorts of different things here. And so she kind of shows you how they dye it and how they're making things, and you can walk through here. So now we're heading towards Phnom Penh, of course, and we're going to be docked there in the city for 2 nights. This is the capital of Cambodia, and we'll be doing several different tours here. On our first day, one of the tours we'll be doing is into the killing fields and going to the Genocide Museum. Now, of course, the killing fields were sort of the they were the burial grounds for so many people who were killed under the Khmer Rouge, over 1 million people. And so there's, the burial grounds and such here. This was 1975 to 1979. And, today the people of Cambodia, they're probably one of the youngest generations around, because all their family were killed during that time, like their parents and their grandparents, especially if they were considered intelligent or wanting to go against what the Khmer Rouge wanted, from the people. So anyways, we do go out there. This is one of the memorial stupas out here. And if you don't want to do that, we have another tour where you can come out to the Central Market. This is sort of in the center of town. And again, just, a huge giant market and, shopping. You can walk around, or you can just spend time on the ship too and relax. But I always think it's funny to come to some of these markets because, again, it's so colorful. There's so much stuff going on. I love looking at the beautiful flowers and seeing the creations they're making. Then another tour we'll be coming into the Royal Palace and to see the Silver Pagoda as well. The Royal Palace obviously is where the king lived, or all kings have lived since, I think it was 1860 when they built the Royal Palace. And beautiful big grounds, like it's huge. This is where you can see the map here. This is where all the sort of royal and national ceremonies take place in the city. And so you can walk all through this beautiful area. There you can see, again, the Silver Pagoda, which is a Buddhist temple. There's another picture of it there. And we'll also go over to the National Museum. So these are all tours that are included. Now, of course, if you don't want to do any of these, if you want to go off and do your own thing, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. So it's totally up to you. You can see the river here coming along. This is sort of a promenade. We're docked a little farther down this way, but you can walk easily, take a tuk-tuk, go exploring. But I love this picture because look at the family on the motorbike. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them on one little motor scooter there. So that you see that all the time. Now, the next day as well, we're going to head out to Udon. This is out more in the countryside, so we take a big motor coach out here. And this is the largest monastery in Cambodia. Huge grounds, lots of beautiful little temples we can walk to. There's one that's quite high up, so if you want to walk up there and look around, the view is quite spectacular. And these monks are doing a blessing for all the people that are there, which is just this is a different group, but like this happened to be our group. This is my gang in the front here. And so they do a blessing for all of us. And then after that, they'll do blessings for you as an individual. So, it's a really special afternoon to come here, and then you can walk around and explore. And when we're done at the monastery, now we're going to head back to the ship, but along the way we're going to take an ox cart ride now. So remember I said different types of transportation, and here you can see us in our ox cart. And you'll come through town and all the people come out and wave, and it might be for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. So it's not too far. And then we come into the center of this little town here, and then we get into our nice big coach to head back into Phnom Penh. So now we're going to leave Phnom Penh and carry on up the river. We'll be stopping in Akati, and this is another, it's kind of like a little island almost area. And we come up there. We're the only people there when we come in, except for the people who live there. And we get to go visit this school. Now, a lot of times we'll go walking, but sometimes if it's hot or if you're getting tired, they'll just call a tuk-tuk and they'll take you. So you don't have to worry about it. And we meet the kids, and they love to practice their English and sing a song for us. You may have got one of our brochures talking about this tour, and inside we do talk about bringing school supplies for the kids. So if you want to, you certainly don't have to, but if you want to, this is a time when we would hand them over to the teachers of the school, and things like pencils and crayons and coloring pencils, erasers, sharpeners, things like that. They're not looking for candy or toys or such. They're just looking for school supplies, little notebooks, what have you. And then they share it out amongst the whole school. So, you're welcome to bring things then. So this is another one of our tour guides here, and we were walking through the village, and he knew this man, and so we went over to sit and talk to him. He was like 100 years old, and he was telling us stories from years ago, and him being a young boy and what happened and all the things he witnessed, of course, especially living in Cambodia. And he was very interesting. Of course, he spoke to our guide, and our guide translated to us, but he was very funny. And on we went. So we went up to the silk village, and you get to see from beginning to end, the silkworm, how they turn them into the silk thread. And look at this guy, he's using like bike wheels to make a spinning wheel. So they're very creative and make these beautiful silks. So that's, in a very shortened version, our cruise journey. And then we're going to come into Kampong Chang, and that's where we're going to get on board the ship. This is Kampong means port. So when you see that word, that literally means port. And now we're going to transfer. Now the transfer from the river over to Siem Reap is about 4.5 to 5 hours long. We're going through the countryside. We'll make 2 comfort stops along the way, and really nice places that we stop. So nice clean bathrooms and a little store and such. And it goes by very fast. And also you get to see the countryside as we journey up to Siem Reap. So we'll arrive at the beautiful Sofitel here as well. And now Phnom Penh is about 1.5 million people, or not Phnom Penh, sorry. Siem Reap, it's not 1.5 million people. Phnom Penh is 1.5 million people, but Siem Reap is about 200,000 people. It's not near as big a city. And this is really home to Angkor Wat, of course, these UNESCO temples. And this beautiful hotel, you'll have lovely accommodations. Again, your breakfast included, and our cruise manager is still with us. Lovely grounds to, walk around, explore. So you have some time to relax a bit if you want. Lovely restaurant for those big, breakfasts in the morning, and then you can come in the evening, have dinner. But I recommend you go into town, which is not far away. You can get a tuk-tuk. The food is amazing. There are so many good restaurants here. You could have a great meal for $20 and probably have a drink too, or two. So very inexpensive. Go exploring. There's the pool here. It's huge. And so some nice downtime. They have a lovely spa as well if you want to go and have some spa treatments. So the temples here, of course, this is really what Siem Reap is known for. And Angkor Wat is a 12th century temple site. It was built as a Hindu temple, actually, and it wasn't till the end of the 12th century that it turned into a Buddhist temple. It's 400 acres. So it's a huge piece of property, and around the entire property is a moat. So I think I have a picture here I can show you. There is the moat, and they've built sort of a walkway across, and then you can see how they've built like a fence, but it's brick, of course, all the way around, so that there's an entryway there. And those walkways wouldn't have been there years ago, of course. That was more to allow tourists to come in and see the temple site. In the 1970s, the Khmer Rouge certainly did a lot of damage here. I think they've done a lot of restoration, but of course, this is 12th century, so it's very old to begin with. There's just more of an up close picture you can see with the big pond in front. A lot of people come, they want to capture the image of the temple in the water. That's a big photographic moment right there. So you'll see a lot of people with big cameras and such trying to capture that. So as you walk around the site, it's huge, as I say. It's a really good idea to stay with a tour guide. You'll have our tour guide with you, of course. If you want to come back and do it again on your own, you can. Before we go into the park, we actually have to buy like a park pass. So that's included. We have that for you. But you can also hire your own one-on-one guide. It's very inexpensive. You'll have our guide, but if you wanted to do that, you can do that as well. And here you can see one of the staircases. That's us. It's very steep, but you can see how high up you go. So we decided to venture up there. And every turn you make, there's something to see, and it's quite spectacular. Of course, Buddha, there's statues all throughout, and they're paying tribute to these Buddhas and such. But look at the wonderful carving, and everywhere you walk, you can only imagine what it would have looked like in the 12th century. I mean, if only we could have seen it, right? So it's quite spectacular. And you'll notice, if you can kind of see all the pillars, they're all lined up. So the view is quite spectacular. Now we'll come to another temple area called Ta Prohm. This is not near Angkor Wat. It's a little, I don't know, 10 minutes away sort of thing by coach. And you might be familiar with this temple site because it was used for filming Lara Croft Tomb Raider, where, you know, the roots grew all over the temple site, and they've been kind of uncovering this site for a long time. Here you can see some of the bricks, like a jigsaw puzzle almost. A lot of them, they had to put it back together, and where they couldn't find stones, like in this picture here, you can see where they've put newer stones in. And then over here, sorry, over here, you can see all the bricks and stuff that they don't know where they go. So they number them and they leave them, and eventually, you know, maybe one day they'll find where it belongs. But Angkor Thom is another site. This was really one I loved. It's known as the 50 Faces just because every pillar is a face. You can see here the detailed face. And you walk through here and there'd just be like little things like this little, you know, statue here, which is what's left of it, but they come, and the monks, of course, and you know, they're saying, you know, prayers and stuff in there. Then we go out to the countryside a little farther away again, and this is Bante Shray. This is known as the Lady Temple because it's pink sandstone, very intricate carving, really, really beautiful. So now we're done in Phnom Penh, and it's time for us to fly up to Hanoi. It takes about an hour, 45 minutes, and we'll be flying up there. And the airport is, I think it's maybe 26 miles away or something. It's not that far. And you'll come into Hanoi, of course, 8 million people in this city. And we will stay at the, oh, how did that picture get in there? Sorry, here's our hotel here, the Sofitel in Hanoi, right centered, you know, right downtown, and which is nice because a lot of tour packages out there, they're in hotels that are much farther out of the city. So you get to be right in the heart of the city here. And Hanoi, the Sofitel Metropole, if you remember back during the Vietnam War, it was called the Hanoi Hilton because so many of the officers stayed there. And of course, they've gone through a lot of renovations and such. It's a beautiful property, nice, you know, beautiful dining room and the swimming pool. You've got really nice, comfortable rooms, breakfast every morning. You can see the dining room there. They have a spa as well. So, you know, you can imagine, just like Ho Chi Minh City, capital of Vietnam, Hanoi here, 8 million people. So very rich in Southeast Asian culture, Chinese and French influence, you know, from the 1920s, so to speak. So we'll do a city tour here. We'll get to enjoy a water puppet show one evening. This is a very traditional thing in Hanoi, and where they do these theater productions with puppets on water. And now it's time for us to head out to Halong Bay. And at this point, we're about, I think it's about 170 kilometers away from Hanoi. We'll coach out there. Now you only take an overnight bag. Your luggage gets locked and stored away because you're just coming on the ship for one night. But this is a UNESCO site. And these are like towering limestone islands, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them with, look at the top, it's all rainforest all over top of these islands. And then of course, many of them have caves in them too. So people don't live on these islands. They're just, you know, scattered all throughout the bay. Here's where we'll be sailing on the Paradise Elegance. So we have one night on board the ship here. Really nice accommodations. As I say, you'll just have your overnight bag with you. Beautiful sunrises and sunsets, and you know, your meals are all included, very much like our own ship. Up at the front area here, you see the bar, and you can sit outside as we move around through the island. And we will get out and do, you know, on these little boats, they'll take us over and we'll go to a cave, come back, you'll have a lovely meal, get up in the morning, see that gorgeous sunrise. And now it's time to come back into Hanoi. Now we actually do have one more night here because we get back sort of at the end of the day and it's too late for your flights. All the international flights out of Hanoi leave in the morning. So then we'll have one more night in Hanoi, and then in the morning you'll be heading on to either home or perhaps maybe somewhere else throughout Southeast Asia. So that, what I really love about this trip more than anything, history, culture, are the people. And I think about them all the time, and I think they are so incredibly kind, and they really just make for a beautiful holiday. So at this time, I'll invite Anne and Jane and also Kemi to come back and join me just to talk a little bit about this wonderful package. So we're looking at, it's called the Charms of the Mekong, 15-night package. And you're traveling from Ho Chi Minh City all the way up to Hanoi. And of course, including that time in Halong Bay and your river cruise. I'll turn it over to you, Kemi, if you want.
Yes, hi. Sorry, we're just trying to get Anne and Jane back with us. So yeah, we have really fantastic pricing for this group. And for one, it's in Canadian dollars, which is huge because not all of the cruise lines do that. And we know how much the US can sting us. But there's basically a fantastic combined deal that we have right now. So this pricing starting at 7,045 Canadian dollars per person is for the entire 15 nights that you've just heard about in Canadian dollars. And that also includes so all-inclusive basis on the cruise and the breakfast and all the hotels and transfers and everything during your stay, the intra-Asia air, which is great, the port charges, and prepaid gratuity. So it truly is a really fantastic value for over a 2-week trip. And Anne, you're back with us now.
Yep. Also that we can arrange your international flights, whatever you might like to do. If you want add-ons before and after the trip, that can also be arranged for you. And we also can offer insurance. However, I think, Shauna, you were going to talk a little bit about the travel waiver program that's offered.
Yeah, I can talk about that. I know you guys have some new coverage as well for COVID, but really, right now we're looking at this journey for a year from now, and we have what we call our Travel Waiver Plus. This is just a program we've had all the time. It didn't really relate to the COVID situation. And this is more of an assurance than it is an insurance. And what we offer is this waiver. It's 175 Canadian per person. And you purchase this at time of booking your cruise once you pay your deposit. Speaking of deposits, the deposit for this journey is $500 Canadian per person. And then you can purchase this waiver at that time if you want to. What it does is it just gives you coverage if you decide to cancel for any reason. This isn't talking about COVID, any reason. Maybe you found out, your daughter's going to have a little baby or whatever. You just never know, or you can't get away because, something's delaying you from going. You can cancel right up to 24 hours prior to the start of your flights or whatever you've purchased with us. And we will give you a future cruise credit for anything we cannot refund you. If it's half the amount, you'll get half your money back, half in a credit. It just depends on how late it is when you actually cancel. So any reason whatsoever, you can take this. But really the insurance experts are all of you gals, and they can certainly help you make sure you're getting the insurance coverage you need, also medical cancellation, all of that.
Yeah. So, the Travel Waiver Plus is really great value program, and we're really happy that AMA offer that just for those worst case scenarios or changes that need to be made. But we are also pleased to report separately for the medical side of things that recently we have now got access to specific COVID medical coverage. So in a worst case scenario that you ever to test positive when traveling, we have coverage for hospitalization in, again, a worst case scenario, or if you had to quarantine or extend your stay. So we're very relieved that there's some extra options coming out now for us to be able to better serve our clients moving forward. But the great thing is, with this group being so far out, a year away, we're really quite confident of, by that point, the vaccine being more available and testing and things being way more normal and efficient around the world. So hopefully by the time you go on this trip, it will be a distant memory. This is, as for some of you will know, this is actually postponed. They are meant to be there kind of right now, actually, aren't you? So for some of the group that already booked on over a year ago for this, everyone's patiently waiting for next year's trip, but I know it'll be well worth it. And thank you, Shauna, for doing such a great informative presentation. And I think it was fabulous that you've been on the trip twice, because you really been able to tell those personal stories. I hope everyone at home was able to enjoy that. We do have a couple of questions that came through, or the COVID one was one, we've answered that. Someone asked about how well does the ship accommodate special diets? Someone here is allergic to fish, and they know there's a lot of fish sauce in Vietnam. So maybe you could talk about the dietary needs and things.
I actually just answered that, Kemi. But anyway, go ahead, Shauna.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Asia, it's very different when we're in Europe because we can handle just about anything. But yes, there are, lots of different sauces and spices and stuff. So we can accommodate. Celiac is a little harder just because of gluten and such. But really what we do is, when you're booking, we actually send you a form so you can let us know what exactly it is you're either intolerant or allergic or what have you. And you send it in to us. We can pretty much tell you right away what we can do or not do. We can accommodate. I mean, some things you'll just have to avoid depending on what it is. But the chef and maitre d' would be able to tell you all those things. So, it's definitely possible. We have people with all types of dietary needs, but we do ask that you fill out a form so we know exactly what we're talking about.
Great, thank you. And I think, excuse me, what's also is lovely about this particular departure with Anne hosting is that, as Sean had mentioned, you have the great tour guide throughout, but having Anne there with, all her amazing years of experience, and she's a great laugh. So for those of you who don't know Anne, she'd be a really wonderful host for you to have around. And we will be working on doing some extra things like on that pre and post, perhaps like nearer the time, setting up, group like dinners, perhaps, Anne will better research into near where you're staying, and perhaps, get the group to meet the night before you board the ship. So our group get to meet each other and things like that. So it'd just be nice to have another, amazing expert with you on the journey, and be throwing in a few extra things that the group can do, as well as that nice chef's table group dinner that Shauna mentioned.
Can I also just, I wanted to talk about the visa requirements for Vietnam and Cambodia. So on this particular journey, you're starting in Vietnam and ending in Vietnam. So you'll need a multi-entry visa for Vietnam, and you get it in advance. It's very simple to get. And as long as you have that, you're fine for Vietnam. For Cambodia, right now, we've been able to do the Cambodian visas on board the ship. This can always change at any time because it's up to the government. But if you wanted to, you could get it in advance. And again, it's not that difficult to get. So, and they're not hugely expensive or anything either. So it is quite easy. In terms of any kind of shots or anything you need, there is nothing required. What we always ask people is to go and talk to their local travel clinic. Everybody has different medical situations, health, what have you, and they would just ask you where you're going, what you're doing. It's more, they're looking more for people who are going way off into the jungles and doing their own kind of touring, whereas we're in 5-star accommodations and on a 5-star luxury river ship, and so you don't really need anything. But again, that's a very personal thing, and so I get asked about that a lot. And then clothing. So I mentioned really comfortable shoes, but also you want to have very light clothing. It's warm and you want to be comfortable. You don't need anything super dressy. The ship is very casual. I would recommend bringing shawls, ladies, because some of the temples, your knees and your shoulders will need to be covered. Not all of them, but you need to always be prepared for that. And but on the ship, it is very, very casual and comfortable. So, you know, sundresses and capris and, you know, comfortable clothing, but most important, comfortable shoes.
Thank
And
you. So
Sure.
good.
Always have a hat and sunscreen for sure.
I just wanted to also go on about the single supplement. Perhaps you can go back to the pricing page, just because we do have a number of solo clients at North South. So the single pricing is based on, there's a 25%, is 125%, isn't it, rather than the full 200 for the cruise portion. But it doesn't look, it looks more on this page at the 11,000 than the 20% because 25% because of the land, right? The solo pricing for the land.
Yeah, the solo for the land, I think, is 1.5, and then on the cruise, it's 1.25. So the combination of the two. So you're never paying double, you know, so, and you can always book as a solo. And if you find somebody else who can join you, then you can add them in and go back to double pricing.
Yeah, that's great. Do we have, Jane or Anne, is there anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up, just in respect to everyone's time?
There is one thing, Kemi, just going back to the visas. It's really important that you work with both either Anne or myself at North South to do the visas, because for the Cambodia visa, you have to list the port or the crossing point from Vietnam to Cambodia, and there's about eight different crossing points. So your visa is conditional based on you choosing the correct crossing point. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you know, you need to work closely with Anne or myself on that, so that, you know, we get the right one for you and you don't have to get another visa on the ship. That was really the only thing I wanted to add.
Great. And Anne, do you just want to say some parting words?
I wish I was there right now, but we just have to wait for another year. But now we can have more of you hopefully come and join us, and we're going to have a wonderful time. And you don't have to think about really lots of extra expenses at all. Everything's included. It's a very reasonable value, great value destination. Souvenirs, we can do our Christmas shopping before we come home, and I think it'll be an excellent trip. We just have to wait another year, that's all.
At least you have something really exciting to look forward to.
By fast.
Yeah,
it does go by fast. Yeah. And just
the numbers are really down. Sorry, they have very low COVID numbers. Just so anyone knows, it's about 400 people, and they've had no deaths in Vietnam at all.
Yeah, we're just waiting for them to reopen it, because they've really kind of blocked themselves off. It's been really impressive.
They don't want us there at the moment.
We just have one extra question that came in about the 3-day tour of Bangkok. I know some clients, I believe, have already that are booked on, have already added that that pre-add-on with Amma. So Shauna, perhaps, I think you maybe mentioned at the beginning, but
yeah, there's the 3-night extension either before or after. You can do it at either end. 3 nights in Bangkok, and it includes, of course, your breakfast and such again. So that's definitely something they can talk to you about. And you can do longer. That would, I mean, the minimum is a 3-night package, but if they wanted to go for 4, 5, 6 nights, they could go longer too.
And that includes a tour. Would you have a tour?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it would have a tour everywhere. Anything we do pre or post, you have the AMA representative with you. You have the breakfast, the beautiful big breakfast included every morning, your hotel accommodations, and they'll do the city tour for sure, and possibly even another tour. I think they do a couple of tours there.
Great. Well, thank you. I think we'll wrap that up. But thank you again, Shauna, for taking the time to share such a great and informative presentation. And Jane and Anne are really looking forward to and hope to get to work with more of you to add on to this group to join Anne next November. So we'll be in touch with a follow-up after this, and we really hope that more of you can get booked on. And if you have any other questions, Anne and Jane, if you work with them already, they'll go directly to them, or when I send a follow-up email, if you don't already work with Jane or Anne and you would like more information or potentially to put down a deposit, please just let me know and I'll introduce you to them. Thank you everyone for joining us. Wishing you well. Enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, and take care, and we'll look forward to catching up soon. Thanks everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.